While I was spending time in the house by myself, several months, preparing for this project, I spent a lot of time just familiarising myself with things in the house. And I was interested about some of the things that had been left behind, which were clearly not detritus. They did have value. And what I wanted to do was to understand why they were still here, why they hadn't gone anywhere. And that's when this notion of ungiven gifts came to mind, particularly when I was looking at the little Etruscan vase. And it was something that I knew that my mother had bought for my father as a birthday gift.
I don't know what they're really called. Is it a crater or something? They have a special technical name for them. But Mary Martin's bookshop, when we first came here, was like an interesting bookshop where they had things like that as well. And I was looking for a present for my husband, and I thought, yes, I like the shape of it, the design. And so I bought it, and it had a little piece of paper in it with typed on kind of the provenance, which I left in the bowl, but somebody cleaning at some stage has thought, oh, bit of rubbish here. So we haven't got that anymore.
She had it ready for him, or she might have even given it to him, but he hadn't taken it away.
And I can't remember the date that was on the piece of paper. But it's something thousand.
It transpired that he, at that time, was not really being so much a member of the family because he'd started a relationship with someone else, and he was going to go and leave Anne, and that transpired, and that left this gift that had been bought for his birthday kind of in limbo. And Anne hung on to it, and it used to sit out, and it was kind of a decorative thing.
And at one stage he wanted to have it back, but I think he only wanted it to sell it because he was selling everything to raise money.
He was always like that. He was just walking around looking for sort of big opportunities. There was no such thing as a small opportunity. It was always going to be massive. Then he came back to the house quite a while later with a big plan to kind of liquidate his assets. So he asked Anne if she still had the Etruscan vase, and she said that she couldn't quite put her hands on it. She didn't really know where it was, and left it at that. So he went away empty-handed.
Well, I think it's just that it never transpired that he collected it. We never seemed to cross paths. And then, of course, he moved up to Darwin, and I think either he gave it up or he thought, well, no, I don't need to sell it anymore, because when he moved to Darwin, he got a job, so he didn't need the money anymore.
I realised there was something in the ungiven gift that had become its provenance.
And then, of course, he died, so...
I've just recalled she said that the bowl had never left the house, that she brought it into the house, and it had never gone away. So I thought that was interesting as well, that it kind of has this presence in the house.
Yes, there's a lot of things here I realise, I should have taken that. But it's very hard. You don't know what you've got until someone starts getting it out. I knew that was there, of course, but I just didn't think of taking it.
So the mugs, they are the second of the ungiven gifts. And it also surprised me that these were left behind. And I was asking Anne the same question, what are these doing here? And she said to me that she'd bought them for us in 1977 when we came to Australia. And of course, at that time, it was the Queen's Silver Jubilee, and these are commemorative mugs for that. And they come in a variety of colours.
Well, they're a good shape. They're not too ornate, simple and elegant, I think. And the idea was to have one for each of the children.
But what happened in 1977 was that only my brother and I came here with my father, and the rest of the family stayed at home with my mum.
The family had split up because when Richard got the job over here, two of our children, or was it two? Yeah, were doing important exams in England. So it seemed important that they should finish that off, and I would follow at the end of the school year.
The original plan was that we were all going to be reunited, but in the ensuing months between us departing and everybody else arriving, my mother and father had a change of heart, and decided not to relocate all of us to Australia, and instead my other siblings were sent to live with my aunt in England.
So when the Jubilee was celebrated that year before we left, and that was a sort of final thing, street parties and all that, and so I thought we ought to have some sort of souvenir for this. So I got one for each of the family.
Only my younger sister, Rachel, she came out here with my mother. So my mother packed these cups thinking that they would be distributed, but really she was packing away the tail end of a wish. And by the time we'd arrived in Australia and all of the things that she'd stowed in boxes had come here and been unpacked, the whole scenario had kind of settled differently. And so again, she'd sort of kept these cups because they reminded her perhaps of a possibility, but she never felt that she could actually give one to each of us. And so they stayed together as a set, whereas we never did. And the other thing that I think is really amusing about it is that there are 7 cups and there are 6 children. And I asked her why 7, and she decided in the end upon an explanation along the lines of, well, it was always good to have one in case one broke.
I suppose as I get older, the memories of family become more precious because that time's passed, but they were very enjoyable. It was hard work, but very enjoyable. And I remember each member of the family as they were and as they are. And of course, I've seen all those changes. And of course, because I don't have anyone who's got the same feeling, these things represent episodes in my life and episodes in theirs. Which is funny, really. I never thought about that before. I just thought, oh, I'm looking after those things, yes. And things accumulated in cupboards and in corners. And I didn't realise how much there was until Berenice started hunting it all out.
In a way, it's even more poignant because Christian has died. And so there aren't even 6 of us living to receive the mugs. I think it's quite nice that they remain together.
So I think that family feeling, so he had it quite strongly, and they've all kept in touch with each other. And I'm pleased about that they haven't just gone off and don't see each other for 30 years.
What I'm puzzled over is why they don't have a home in Anne's house. So it sort of asks questions about where we are as a family, I think. And I do think that circumstances have kind of thrown us all a bit to one side. I think losing Christian the way we did, we're still all recovering from that in our various ways. And I think as well, my mother hasn't quite settled on where it is that she wants to be. So she's kind of in transit. And maybe these things won't be resolved until she finds somewhere again for herself. But I think it's one of those things where there aren't any answers. There will just be more events. And I think these are all stories that are compelling in a sense because they're composed by what has happened alongside the intentions that people had. And I guess that tension continues between these objects and us as people.